What's going on, my friend? It's Jeff Newport from ChasingStrength.com. And in today's video, we are going to answer the question, true or false, you cannot outwork a bad diet. All right, let's dive into it. Years ago in the old RKC kettlebell training system, we joke around saying you can't out-snatch a donut. Right. In other words, you can't out-train or outwork a bad diet. Same thing. Said differently, right? You can train hard, but if you still eat like a pig, you're not going to see any changes in your appearance. Yeah, you may get stronger, you may get a little bit more muscular, but you're still going to be soft and pudgy, right? You're not going to be lean or harder. Now, I think that many, if not most people, have accepted this as common wisdom. But let's stop and ask the question, is this actually a true statement? I think it's worth pondering it. And is this why we secretly hold out the hope that you or we or whatever, we can actually, as the old DragonDoor RKC kettlebell advertisement said, we'll flash it up here on the screen. Watch in amazement as high rep kettlebells let you hack the fat off your meat without the dishonor of aerobics and dieting. Right? Again, that was from the book published in 2002. The Russian Kettlebell Challenge, Xtreme Fitness for Hard Living Comrades. And you can argue that was the book that kicked off the modern kettlebell revolution, modern kettlebell renaissance, whichever you want to call it. And is that actually true? Like some of the early kettlebell training adopters claimed they had experienced on the old DragonDoor forum, right around, like circa 2000, 2002, 2004. Unfortunately, the scientific research, and most experiences tell us that for most people, yes, this is actually true. You cannot outwork a bad diet. But what about the rest? What about those guys on the forum? What about that advertisement? Are they just outliers, or was there actually something to it beyond marketing hype? All right. Well, I'm here to tell you that there is actually a little bit something to it. Okay. In fact, depending on how you use this information, there's actually a lot to it. Okay. So let's dig in a little deeper here. Now, over the past decade or so, maybe a little longer since I've been fascinated with this topic, I've run across several protocols that, when I've tested, produce reliable fat loss results actually without having to change the diet. All right. But I got to say, it's tricky. In other words, what I mean by that is I don't know if people are actually changing their diet. So let's dive in here, right? And take a closer look at why this is tricky. I can think of at least 3 reasons. Okay, so the first reason is effort level. Okay, now some people on these protocols work harder than others. And hard work, whether you like it or not, factors into the fat loss equation. Okay. Number 2 is food compensation. And this is where I slightly alluded to this at the beginning here a few seconds ago about changing your diet. Now, some people's appetites increase after intense exercise. So they eat more food than they normally would. So as you would expect, they don't see any fat loss. In fact, some of them actually have a net gain. Conversely, other people's appetites are suppressed by intense physical exercise. So they don't eat as much, right? So how would you know if these protocols are actually working if you're not tracking diet? And that's one of the arguments against them, right? Like you wouldn't. So maybe it's a combination, maybe it's not. Number 3 is workout duration. And sometimes the duration of the workout actually triggers what we just talked about, right? Food compensation, especially the longer, harder workouts. So hopefully this is all making sense so far. Now let's look at a major key, right? One of the major keys, if not the only key. In other words, it may or may not be the only key, as the old DragonDoor ad suggests, and that is high rep or higher rep than you're used to kettlebell ballistics. What are those? Again, it's the swings, the snatches, especially the snatches in the old days, the clean and jerks, or, in today's day and age, clean and push presses. If you can do jerks, great. Okay. But the trick here is to actually go long enough, heavy enough, and most importantly, fast enough to get out of breath, but not too long. All right. So let me say that again. So the trick to making these high rep kettlebell ballistics work is to go long enough, heavy enough, and fast enough to get out of breath, but to not go too long. Okay. Another key point here is if you're going to attempt these types of protocols with kettlebell ballistics, right, is to rest enough between sets so you can keep your force production high on the next set. So again, you can train heavy enough and fast enough to get out of breath, right? But you're not so fatigued that you can't complete the specified sets. Well, there's some research, in case you're wondering, like, what does the research say? Or are you just making all this stuff up? Research studies by Kramer et al. And others demonstrate that this type of training increased circulating levels of your two major anabolic and fat burning hormones. Those are testosterone, commonly known as T, and growth hormone, commonly known as GH. And the cool thing is, as I just said, they both burn fat, or at least trigger the body to burn more fat. And yes, in case you're just wondering, right, both of these can build muscle, again, assuming the right loads. Okay, so sets, reps, rest, weight, duration, these loads can trigger the releases of both T and GH from the training experience. Okay, so growth hormone, or GH in particular, does the following. Number one, it breaks down triglycerides stored in your fat cells into fatty acids, which can then be used for fuel. Number two, it increases your metabolic rate, okay, which means you burn more calories and therefore more fat, hopefully and theoretically. Number three, it opposes insulin's action. In other words, this leads to reduced blood sugar uptake by your fat cells and promotes fat breakdown. And number four, it supports and or contributes to lean muscle mass development, which then increases metabolism and continues to contribute to fat loss, right? So as you can see, GH, or growth hormone, is critically important for burning fat. So that being said, if you want to burn some fat using your kettlebells, then it's in your best interest to trigger the release of growth hormone in and from your kettlebell training. And that's probably the type of training or workouts the guys on the old DragonDoor forum were using to strip off body fat without the dishonor of dieting or aerobics, okay? Hopefully this is making sense. In other words, this is a big if here, if you program your kettlebell workouts correctly, your kettlebell training correctly, you actually can out-snatch a donut or outwork a bad diet. If you want to take all the guesswork out, right, and don't want to have to do the research and figure this out on your own, I will show you how to do it with a program, and I will leave a link to that program in the description below. All right, so hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, click the like button, smash the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already. Leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you found it really helpful, and you know somebody who's struggling with stomach fat and is using kettlebells and wants to get rid of the stomach fat using kettlebells, then share this video with them. So hopefully they'll find it helpful too. Until next time, my friend, stay strong.